a panel that I do use quite a bit is the effects panel over here. Okay, it's got two parts to it. It's got post-crop vignetting and it's got grain. I don't use the grain part so much, but I use post-crop vignetting all the time. So we'll take a look at both inside the video. Let's look at vignetting first. Vignetting, it's essentially just kind of darkening the edges of your photo. Okay, so what we do here is we come take the amount. If you bring it to the left, it makes it dark. If you bring it to the right, it makes them bright. Okay, so typically I'll make it darker here. All right, come over here, and I'm going to accentuate these just because I want to show you what the sliders do. Midpoint. Midpoint changes how far that middle encroaches in toward the center of the photo. All right, so at a very setting over here on the left hand side, it goes way in toward the center. If you keep it over on the right, it keeps that vignetting all the way out just to the edges here. So again, I'll typically kind of go in a little bit further with it toward the middle. Roundness controls whether it's going to be more of a rectangular shape or whether it's going to be more of an oval shape here in the middle. So I'm going to make it really dark because we gotta kind of do that for you to be able to see it. But see here, I'll move around this all the way to the right. You could see it's more of a circular shape here. As I start to move it toward the left, you could see how it kind of just becomes more of a rounded rectangle where it's just burning in the sides. Again, we've really accentuated the settings here. I normally wouldn't go that high, but I want you to be able to see what it's doing. And then feather controls that transition that you see right here. Okay, so at a very low feather setting, it looks like it's a frame, which is kind of neat. You know, if you ever just wanted to add a border to your photo, you could come over here and you could do it that way. But as you start to increase that feather setting, it softens that transition from the vignette toward the part of the photo that's not vignetted. Okay, so what I would do here is I would kind of tweak these a little bit, make them not so crazy, and let's see, right about there. I do kind of like, I kind of see, I feel like I tend to keep my roundness slider toward the left a little bit. I tend to like that more rectangular shape to the vignette. I'll always tend to feather it quite a bit because I want to soften that transition. As far as the mount goes, it really depends on the photo and how much it can handle and how much, you know, you don't want people to say, oh, wow, you vignetted that photo. You don't want your vignette to be obvious. So I'll kind of just move it to the point where it looks very natural inside of the photo. Okay, you can see our before and after here. That's before and that's after. Okay, so that's vignetting. I use that quite a bit. Now, grain. I don't use this one that much, but I'll at least show you what it does. And you typically do this on a black and white photo, maybe even one where you added a little bit of a color tint to. But grain gives us the ability to do something that we used to have to go to Photoshop for if you wanted to do a special effect, if you wanted that grainy look. You're not really going to see it until you zoom in. So let's zoom in on the photo here and start to increase my grain amount. So you can see it just adds that graininess. It's kind of interesting. You know, Lightroom gives us the detail panel and gives us a great way to remove noise or that grainy type of a look from the photo, but it also gives us a really good way, if we want to come over here and to add it right back in. But you can take a look. That's before. That's after. Okay, and you've got a couple other settings here. If you want to make the grain larger, and the roughness setting is kind of like a blur. When it's all the way over to the left, it's like little fine points of grain, and when you start to bring it all the way to the right, it looks like it's blurry grain. So typically I leave it right in the middle here, and that's pretty much the sweet spot for it. And I'll just use the amount slider to control how much grain that you're actually going to add to the photo. So think of these. Don't think of everything here in the effects panel as something that you're going to do to every single photo, although I do use post-crop vignetting quite a bit. But don't think of these as things that follow along your workflow of what you have to do to a photo. Think of them as just effects, finishing effects that if it's something that your photo can benefit from, then you can come over here and add these right before you're done and right before you're ready to move on with the photo, almost as a finishing effect.